society, welcome back to the Antisocial Planet, and today we are checking out some more Solo Leveling, and we are getting closer and closer to actually the job title arc. I apologize for not remembering the full name of it, but getting into that, which honestly, I thought that this is where we were going to end the season. Honestly, I thought that was how we were going to end. I'm like, that's a pretty climactic place to end off the season, and it's a pretty good bookend for everything that has been developing in this to set up the basics of Jinwoo's power. And then as we're going into the episodes, I was like, I don't know if we'll get there if we have enough episodes to actually get to that story, but they've been doing a really good job of pacing through these episodes. It feels a little bit fast for me, but I think that might just be because when I'm reading the manhwa, I can take the time to really sit with certain parts of the story and really think about the words that are being used and who's saying them and different symbolic things in this, which obviously with the anime, the pacing of that is being dictated by the runtime as opposed to me wanting to focus into certain things that are sparking my interest. So it just feels a little bit different in that context. But so far I'm really enjoying the adaptation. I think that my only really nitpicky thing is that they have some weird things with exposition, things that feel like they're just sitting down and giving you a lecture about certain information that you need to know, as opposed to fitting it into a more natural conversation or showing it to the audience. Because in the manhwa, it's easier to have like an omniscient narrator just give you a speech bubble and be like, hey, here's the context you need to know, as opposed to in an anime where you're like taking that and putting it into the mouth of a character, and it feels a little bit less natural and fluid within the storytelling. But I also understand that's them needing to give information and trying to stay a little bit more to the manhwa and like lining up panels and not deviating too much. But I do feel like in some of the instances they could have actually shown some of the information as opposed to just having a character talk about it. But that's like the tiniest little nitpicky thing about the series, and if that's like the one thing that has stuck out to me, they're doing a great job with this adaptation. So I'm super excited to get to see the next part of this story because I just know it's going to be epic. They've been doing a great job of taking panels from the manhwa and putting it into the anime, and I really like seeing that. So let's get into the episode. In 3, 2, 1, go. That's not true. You've definitely changed since before the double dungeon. Not necessarily for the better, but understandable. I feel so bad for Juhi. Like, she wants to help people, but like she hasn't quite found the like, I don't know, she doesn't have like the fighting spirit in her. Ugh, the way her face changes when she turns, because like she says it with a smile and she says it like this is for the best, but it also like there's a sadness under it of like even before when she was on the phone call with her parents and she's like, I don't want you to control my life. But then at the end of the day, she's like still being controlled. She's being controlled by her fear, by her trauma, by, you know, all of the other things that are stopping her from being a hunter. You should definitely be weary. Maybe. He definitely is. He's just biding his time. Yep. I mean, like, that is also true. Like, I was gonna say don't go into a dungeon with him, but also at the same time, like, how do you stop an S rank from doing whatever they want? Because there's a lot that he's like, hey, you should probably skip the country, like get out as much as you can. Even though like he can't, because obviously his mom has to stay here for like healthcare reasons, right? Like she's hospitalized. It's not as easy as him just like packing up and leaving. But I think it's also, I know him being like intimidated by the S rank is like one part of it, but also I think that it's, you know, under like not just like showing how powerful an S rank is by saying like the law doesn't apply to them, but I think that that's a great like foreshadowing of Jinwoo and like what he's going to develop into, because he's already said like I could probably outrank an S rank, whatever that means. And then to say, well, if it's someone at an S rank is beyond the law can't enforce anything on them. What does that mean for someone who outranks an S rank? Like even the S rank rankers can't go up against you and like keep you in place or intimidate you into behaving or working with them. I think it foreshadows what he's gonna be like. I just, you know, I feel like Jinwoo's more of a villain arc than, at least at the moment. I think he's on the trajectory at this point in the story for a villain arc. I hope for redemption. I hope that we circle back to his good intentions, and they're kind of doing a better job, I feel like, in the anime than in the manhwa of like making sure that you see the balance like of him as like a person as opposed to this like warrior or this fighter who keeps leveling up. But it's I feel like he's on the path for villain status. There she is. I know we've seen her before, but we're like properly getting into her story with this. I love teacher Jinwoo. I think there should be a legal issue with recruiting minors. Oh, be friendly, Jinwoo. Yep. I mean, I'd probably take that job too. If you're like, you just have to stand out here and get paid, I'd be like, I can do that. Just like that, we take on new abilities. Oh, I love him so much. He's so flashy. He's so over the top. I love him so much. Oh. Help a friend out. Like he's just wearing the helmet. Like, bless him. Oh, they'll be fine. Record time. They got this. I get them when they're like, oh, for a normal strike team, it would take them a couple hours. But at this point, it's just like, I like how it was so like challenging that we don't even see what happens in that dungeon. Like they're just like, all right, that's done. Like they're like on to the next gate. Is he doing it one-handed? Come on. That was a cool shot though. He just comes out of nowhere and like kicks it in the head. Good job, Jinho. Thanks for the support. Oh well, wolves he can take care of. I like they're showing some of the stealth too. What a smile though. Starting to get a good rhythm. Be a shame if something knocked him down a peg. Still a lot of progress from E to B. New quest, new quest. Job change. The big one. At least at this point in the story. Oh, this poor guy. He's gonna try and blackmail the wrong person. Hey, you put respect on my poor boy's name. Yeah, he keeps popping up in suspicious circumstances, doesn't he? Don't do it. Don't blackmail the wrong person. Look, he just has the helmet on. It makes me so happy. Oh, I'd be bored too, I guess, at a certain point. I'm not gonna do nothing. Mm-hmm. He's suspiciously been in 3 dungeons where the majority of people died. Or all of them. I feel like this guy is good. Whoever does actually be like, I'm gonna out this person who is reawakened needs to be a very high rank. I mean, you haven't actually been in a dungeon yet, so like, you know, experience on paper, but not in real life. Spooky. Is this the trauma flashback? Because we had before where they wanted to go back to the island because they had left something behind, and we had a flash of like a person there. He does not look approachable. I'd be like the guy beside him who's just like scared, nervous. I'd be like, do we want to go up to this person who we think is dangerous and really looks like he doesn't know what to talk to us? It's not about the money. Like he's just humoring him at this point. Like Jinwoo knows full well that he's not gonna switch guilds. Just here to sip some tea. I love this. Like it's brilliant. It's such a power move. Definitely. You were like offering double immediately though. You gotta barter, you know? Boy, turn a blind eye. I like him, like, before he was like, oh, I'm just gonna have to like come clean if someone discovers that I'm like reawakened, and now he's like powerful enough that he can use it to his advantage. That poor guy who's just along for the ride. I like you just switch this around. Like him, he was like, oh, I'm gonna offer you a deal. And then Jinwoo shows up and he's just like, I'm gonna offer you a deal. I mean, supply and demand, man. I don't think he even knows what happened. Like, he's like, I don't even know. He doesn't even know what deal he's made. He's just trying to make it from 1 second to the next. I don't know if I trust him, but I also don't know if I'd tell him no. I don't know if it's trust or if it's like incentive. Be like, if I hear that someone has discovered this, I'm gonna know that you're the leak. I think he's also a big deal, but tread carefully. I love it. It's so good. Like he just played him so bad. Yep. I mean, huge shift in his personality from like Juno at the beginning of the season. Don't mention his name unless you need to. Keep your head down, boy. Honestly, for your own safety. So it's beginning. I love that whole deal that goes down because I think it just shows that for all of the moments that we've seen Jinwoo in combat and how he's able to use that strategically, use it to his advantage, even up his strengths, but then seeing him in a business negotiation being able to tie someone up in knots to the point where they don't even know what deal they're making and then finding out that they basically got scammed with that deal. It's so good. And I think that it just shows that one, how much Jinwoo has changed and how much more confident he's become as the series progresses, but also shows that he's not just someone who's good with combat. He's not someone who's just good at taking down dungeons, which is what a lot of this was speedrunning through him doing a bunch of dungeons and getting that experience and trying out new abilities that he has. But it was also showing that he has the business savvy too. His intelligence and his strategic way of thinking is beyond just what can he do in a fight. And I think that's a really important thing to bring into the fold of his character. And a lot of that's just confidence, right? Like, he has always been a very strategic thinking person, and he's always been very observant and is able to store away information that's going to be useful for him later. But he didn't have the confidence to use any of it. So it was just in desperate situations where that would come out. But this isn't something that's necessarily completely tied up with his reawakening. I get to some extent, yes, because he does have intellect stats, but this is something that he's always had available to him, and he just never used it because he's like, I can't, I'm weak, I'm the weakest hunter, I'm nobody, right? That's like his mindset that was keeping him back for a lot of that. So getting to see him using that now and getting involved in the game and like the politics of being a higher ranking hunter, because he's going to need to be able to do that. He's going to need to know how to manipulate things and read people and understand what is being offered to him and how he can use that to his advantage or get the best deal that he can out of it. It's really interesting to have that pulled to the forefront, but getting into the job change quest, which is always super exciting, and I can't wait to see it animated. It's so epic in the manhwa, and just seeing the panels for it, I can't wait to see it with the actual animation, because we've seen some cool animation so far. There's some great fluid animation in the fight scenes so far, and holding long shots, which is really cool because those are difficult to animate, but also they have a really cool aesthetic to them, to have the shot held with that fight, or to have the camera not cut but follow the movement of the fight is just a really dynamic way of showing those fight scenes. So I'm excited to see that one like applied to the job change quest, but also I feel like they've been saving some of their tricks for the end of the series, or like the end of this season, this part, so that they can really show off what they can do with the end of this. I feel like it's gonna be really good. I'm hyped for it, but I hope you enjoyed watching that along with me. You can click this playlist to go into my previous reactions, or you can subscribe to miss next time I post a solo leveling reaction, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!